nothing alike. We's different. You ain't the hustling type. We's different. Rick King.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of the YouTube world, CJ Rose's back in the building. Welcome back to the channel. All right. All matches are done. Everything is complete. We just have one more thing to do. We had to say our final farewell to The Undertaker. This is what this pay-per-view was all about. 30 years, celebrating 30 years of The Undertaker. I'll get into my thoughts about The Undertaker in a minute. So this was like this. So they had a who's who of people come out to celebrate or pay their respects to The Undertaker. I say who's who because a couple of them were surprising. A couple of them made sense, and others I just didn't understand. But I had to really think about it. All right, so the first person to come out was Shane McMahon. My thoughts with Shane McMahon and The Undertaker. Of course, they had their match, that Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania 32. Good match, by the way. Before then, they were part of the corporate ministry, of course. And then after that, Undertaker was literally throwing Shane McMahon around like he was a rag doll. So, giving him last rides and choke slams through tables. I remember that much between those two. So, for him to pay his respect, okay, I understand that. All right, cool. Next came the Big Show, which made a little bit of sense. Those two had a couple matches themselves. They also were tag team champions together. So, that's another thing. I think they were 2-time tag team champions, I believe. But at the time, before Undertaker and Kane, Undertaker and Big Show, that was an unstoppable team. You need to understand. Big Show in his prime, with Undertaker in his prime? Oh my God. Oh my God. What? That was an unstoppable team at the time. So I understood Big Show. Then came JBL. I remember JBL had that rivalry with The Undertaker back in 2004 when JBL was champion. Those were some brutalized matches. Of course, they had the very first last ride match. So that was interesting. So JBL made sense. I understood that. Then came Jeff Hardy. And when I saw Jeff Hardy, the only thing I could ever think about was their 2002 ladder match for the Undisputed Championship on Raw. One of the greatest Raw matches ever. If you've never seen Jeff Hardy versus The Undertaker in that ladder match, watch that. That is a great match. Woo! I want to watch that match too. I might watch it after this. That was a hell of a match. But one of my fond moments between those two is actually one of the matches that is one of my personal favorites is Jeff Hardy versus The Undertaker on SmackDown in 2009 in an Extreme Rules match. I like that match. It was a basic match, but I like it either way because Jeff Hardy got the win. But that was a good underrated match. If you ain't see that one, you need to watch that one too. That was a good match. So Jeff Hardy made sense. Okay. Mick Foley. Do I need to go on? Do I need to explain the history between Mick Foley and The Undertaker? Like, do I need to explain that? I will if you want me to. When Mick Foley, listen, those two created the most iconic moment in WWE history. When The Undertaker threw Mankind off the Hell in a Cell. And we all thought Mankind was dead. We all thought he was dead. You don't survive something like that and walk to talk about it to this day. To this day, there's no moment that tops that. Not one. Come on. Like this. Crazy. I don't need to go on. That explains everything. These next 3 or 2, let's say his next 2 interesting. So The Godfather came out. And then The Good Ones came out. So The Godfather, I didn't know, was actually really close personal friends of The Undertaker. I didn't know that. I learned that watching the Broken Skull sessions, the One More Round, Part 2 with Undertaker. I didn't know those two were that close. But apparently, Taker, Godfather, the Goodwins. I think Sadio Vega was part of it too, and the late great Yokozuna were part of their. They had their own clique. Like you know how Triple H, Shawn Michaels, X Pac, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall had their clique. Yeah, I think this is what Undertaker had in his clique. It was again it was them. I think Sadio Vega was part of it too. Called BSK. So I was fine with that. I said, okay. Now that if I didn't know that, then I'd really be saying like, why the hell is the Godfather out here? Like I'd be saying that. But you know, since I know that info, I said, all right, cool, no problem, no issue. You know what I'm saying? That was cool. Funny thing is, one of the Godwins, one of them is Midian, and I didn't know that. That blew my mind. That blew my mind. As I said, Sadio Vega was out here. I think he's part of the clique too. So here's what it is. Rikishi was out here. Now the only memory I have between those two is when in Armageddon 2000, when the Undertaker choke slammed Rikishi off the top of the cell into that the back of a truck that had a stack of hay in it. That's a moment that I don't think that many people remember. But that's the only thing I can remember to Rikishi. And then I said, okay, all right, fine. You know what I'm saying? Is what it is. Next up was Kevin Nash. Kevin Nash was one of the Undertaker's victims at WrestleMania, because actually Taker faced Kevin Nash when Nash was Diesel in the main event. I think it was WrestleMania 11 or WrestleMania 13, one of the two. But yeah, I don't know why Kevin Nash is out here other than that, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Next up was Booker T. That one I don't understand, because I remember Taker and Booker T had a mini rivalry in 2004. And this is when Undertaker came back as the Dead Man. So this was literally pretty much his first program as being the Dead Man was against Booker T. Okay. Okay. That's all I gotta say. Next up was Shawn Michaels. I don't think I need to explain how long of a history those two have. Like, they were in the very first Hell in a Cell match. I think they were in the very first casket match. Those two classics at WrestleMania 25 and 26. He was the referee in that end of an era match with him and with Taker and Triple H. Need I go on? Like, Shawn Michaels and Undertaker have a hell of a history. You know what I'm saying? Like, then you got Ric Flair. And they had themselves a little bit of a rivalry back in 2002. Technically, Ric Flair and Undertaker had that match at WrestleMania 18. And at the time, this was the first time Undertaker acknowledged the streak. Because at that time, he was 10-0. And that was the first time he acknowledged it. And that's when it became a thing. And I didn't know this. I didn't know for WrestleMania 18, Taker had a choice between Ric Flair and RVD. It made sense for Flair. They picked Flair because I don't think it would have made sense for RVD. Because if Taker was going to go over against RVD, then I didn't really see much of a point for RVD to come through. That's just my opinion. I'm sorry. Like, RVD was still the young talent. So why would you not put RVD over? You know what I'm saying? That's just how I'm thinking about it. Then next up was The Game, Triple H. Just like Shawn Michaels, Triple H and Undertaker's rivalry goes back years itself. Triple H is actually the only man to face Undertaker 3 times at WrestleMania. WrestleMania 17, WrestleMania 27, and WrestleMania 28. That end of an era match is still one of my favorite matches to this day. That match was great. I don't think, if you ain't never seen it, which you should have. You should have by now. But if you haven't seen it, watch that match. That was a hell of a match. And of course, the final man, of course, everybody would have expected, is Kane. Kane, of course. Brothers of Destruction. Faced Undertaker twice at WrestleMania. They're both. They are, I think, a three-time tag team champions together. Why would you not? You know what I'm saying? It's this certain things just ain't gotta be explained because you already know. Here's what it is. Then after that, they showed a video package on Undertaker, great video package with Undertaker. Then Vince McMahon came out, spoke his piece like he was about to cry, which I understand, but I get it. That's probably one of his longest employees, so it makes sense. And then he introduced Taker. They did all the fixings for Undertaker's entrance. Shit, they had the symbol, had like fake electricity, pyro coming out of everywhere. Undertaker walking down, basically almost a 10-minute, 20-minute, 30-minute entrance. You know how Taker does with his long entrances. Didn't talk, took about 5 minutes to speak. And it was short. It wasn't nothing serious. Like, it's Undertaker, man. Like, Undertaker really ain't got to say much. And he never does. Just said, for 30 years, I faced the best, beat the best, put them in their graves when the time came. And now it's time for the Undertaker's time to come. Rest in peace, What Undertaker would say, you know what I'm saying? So, then from there, Undertaker slowly went back, and we all saw the Undertaker for the final time. Now, my thoughts about the Undertaker. I started watching wrestling in 99, late 99. So, at the time, the Undertaker was gone at the time. Everybody knows he came back in 2000 as the American Badass. And that's why I like the American Badass more than any persona, because I grew up on that first before anything. But as I was watching and learning about the Undertaker, I realized that he was a whole different character before this. He was literally like a dead man, like a walking dead person that just comes in, destroys, and then leaves. You know what I'm saying? Like, then you have Paul Bearer, everything like that. But, when he came back as the American Badass, he didn't have nobody. So it was just him. And I fell in love with Taker at that time because I loved how slick, he was slick talk. He always knew how to come back with it. I loved Taker for that reason. So, when he got buried alive by Kane in 2003 and then came back as the Dead Man, the Phenom, for his second run as that character, that's where everything started changing. And that's where everything started evolving. Because now the character, for many people who didn't grow up in the 90s, you didn't really know what this character was. Now that you're older and now you see it, for me personally, now that I'm seeing it, I'm like, wow, this is great. And from there, he had match of the year. He had so many matches of the year. Him against Randy Orton at WrestleMania 21, at the time, that was Orton's best match. But that was, if it wasn't for Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels, that would have been match of the night. I promise you it would have been match of the night. That was a hell of a match. Of course, his match against Batista at WrestleMania 23, which Batista said, and what Taker said as well, he thought that should have been the main event. But if it wasn't for Shawn Michaels and John Cena, who tore the house down themselves, that would have been match of the year. That actually was match of the night. Was it? Actually, I think that Money Bank was match of the night, but, either way, that match could have main evented. And then you talking about the year after, when he started his whole program with Edge at WrestleMania 27. No, not 27. That was WrestleMania 24. I don't know why I said WrestleMania 27. At WrestleMania 24, that match with him against Edge, that was fantastic. That main event, WrestleMania. He won the World Championship that year as well. Then from there, what was that, WrestleMania 25. Against Shawn Michaels, match of the year. Still one of the greatest matches of all time. Then he had the rematch. Still one of the greatest matches of all time. Then he had the program with Triple H back to back, and the an era Hell in a Cell match. So one of the greatest matches I've ever seen. And then of course he got that match with CM Punk, which was match of the night, which should have main evented. CM Punk felt that should have main evented because all he ever wanted to do was main event WrestleMania. That match was fantastic. Then the streak got broken. It got broken at WrestleMania 30. I will never forget when that streak got broken. I'll never forget it. Because I was waiting to go to work. No, I was waiting to go on a date before work. I remember that. And I said, might as well watch WrestleMania, right? So watching Undertaker Brock Lesnar. That match honestly wasn't great. But the minute that 1, 2, 3 hit, I woke up and I said, what? Because I thought it was a dream. Like when Lesnar was pinning Taker, I'm like, Taker gonna kick out. 1, 2, the minute that 3 count hit, it hit reality to everybody. When I tell you, WWE showed a camera and showed a picture to anybody in that arena, everybody was surprised. There was nobody was looking lost. Everybody was like, and of course, you got that meme with the guy with the big eyes and everything, but everybody was surprised because nobody expected that. I didn't either. And it's funny because Undertaker said on his on the Broken Skull sessions too. He said he didn't think putting Lesnar over was right because it didn't do anything for him, and it technically didn't. It still didn't. Like, it still didn't do anything for him. Like, Lesnar became dominant, but it doesn't do anything for Lesnar. If Lesnar was like in his first year, one of the best years ever, then he goes to UFC and dominates UFC. First man ever to become WWE champion and UFC champion. Nobody's ever done that. He did something nobody's ever done. So for him to beat the streak doesn't really do much for him. He wanted to give it to Roman. And I wouldn't mind that because Roman was still trying to get his footing. Technically still. So I would have did more for Roman than it would have did for Lesnar. And then from there, everything went downhill with Taker. I don't think Taker never had a 5-star match after that. And it sucks. Because that's when injuries started hitting, this, that, and the third. And that's when Taker started going down. And Taker couldn't say no. But I'm glad that Boneyard match he had with AJ Styles earlier this year was his final match. Because that's the best way you can go out. That was the best way you can go out. That was a hell of a match. That match was probably match of the show. That's the best way you can go out. I'm glad Undertaker's satisfied. I'm glad he doesn't need to prove anything. He doesn't need to do anything. He's already solidified. One of the greatest characters in the history of the business. 30 years, never broke character until that Last Ride documentary. Once that aired, that's where we knew everything. He stayed in character for 30 years. That is amazing. Taker, I'm gonna miss you. Thank you for the memories. Hopefully I'm hoping this was the final time. I don't want to see the Undertaker on my screen anymore. It's not that I'm tired of him. It's just let him be. You know what I'm saying? Let him be. He's done enough. He's good. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, so thank you, Taker. Have a good retirement, my guy. You've been enjoying it. Continue enjoying it. You deserve every minute. But yeah, that was Survivor Series. Interesting show. A couple things I didn't see coming, but other than that, it was an interesting show. Not bad. We got one more pay-per-view left for the year. We got one more month till this crazy year ends. TLC, December 20th. I will be here for it, and we will be here to talk about it. But until the next time, it's been Rose, man. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all the love and support, as always. As you saw, I got my PS5, so 2K videos are coming. Be on the lookout for them. I still got to finish up my Yu-Gi-Oh! And I still got to finish up, I got to finish up my Yu-Gi-Oh! And I got to finish up my Walking Dead. You will see those videos. I still got to finish up my UFC and my 2K Battlegrounds as well. We're going to finish those up. Get those out the way so we can put the PS4 to rest. That's all. That's it, man. So until next time, peace, love, 100. You hear it?